Hello again. I want to talk this morning about the most unappetising sounding subject, that of brownfield sites. These are areas of land which have previously been used for industry or housing and so have not for a long time been green countryside. Because an awful lot of people object to seeing any more of the countryside concreted over to build homes, usually for immigrants, the favoured strategy is to develop on brownfield wherever possible. Now, I'm not at all keen to see countryside being built on and green belts reduced, but this alternative poses problems of its own. I can give a couple of examples of places known to me, namely the East London district of Ilford, where I grew up, and Loughton, where I now live. In Ilford, huge tower blocks have been erected in recent years, giving the town the appearance of a miniature Manhattan. The thumbnail to this video shows a couple of these skyscrapers. The population density now in Ilford is through the roof, and so because there's not much more room, shops are being demolished and replaced by enormous blocks of flats. A couple of years ago, the old department store in Ilford, Bodger's, closed, and it has now been demolished, and a 42-storey block of flats is being built on the site. Even this is not enough. The nearby Sainsbury's store near Ilford Broadway is also being demolished, so that 1,000 homes can be built on the site. I give a link in the description to this video to a news item about this. In Loughton, there is an industrial zone of offices and a shopping park, which is on the other side of the railway tracks from the residential area of the town. Higgins Homes, a local builder, has had a block of offices to its headquarters there for the last few years, but now they have sold this and it will be converted into more than 50 homes. Other businesses in that area are also converting offices into homes, a trend which may be seen in the centre of some English cities as well. The drive to cram ever more homes into every conceivable space has become absolutely frantic. There are two serious problems with this approach. The first is, of course, that simply building more homes means that those who live in them must use the same doctors, dentists, shops and hospitals as the existing population in an area. Unless we're building more hospitals and health centres to cope with a vastly increased population, then obviously it will be harder to get to see a doctor or dentist, just to give one example. There's an even more deadly problem though, one which sheds light perhaps upon some of what we are currently observing in Britain's largest cities. In the 1960s, experiments were conducted with mice and rats, setting up large environments and giving a group of the rodents unlimited food. The population tended to rise very fast, and as the mice and rats became more and more crowded, their behaviour became pathological. The males attacked each other, killing for no particular reason. Gang rapes occurred, where a female would be killed in the course of frenzied and indiscriminate mating, which was not accompanied by any of the usual rituals. Mothers stopped caring for their young and left them to starve. Viewers might see disturbing parallels with our own world, human society, where as cities become increasingly crammed full of people, traditional customs vanish and it becomes a violent free-for-all. Violence increases in the form of murders and rapes, and family life breaks down. In other words, crowding our cities with very high density housing is possibly a recipe for disaster. It's interesting to note that some areas which have seen an upsurge in violence in the last decade or so, Ilford certainly springs to mind, are the very places where all these new skyscraper blocks of flats are being erected. Is there a link between the two things? it's certainly worth investigating. At the very least, it might be wise to pause the process of increasing growth for a while and see if things in cities improve and stabilise, and perhaps rates of murder and other violent crimes start to fall a little.